Welcome back. Well, let's be honest, sometimes it's a challenge to get dinner on the table, even for me. But I'm here to tell you, it doesn't have to be that hard. With our Thai Salmon Noodle Bowl, you can have dinner on the table in no time. Start with some salmon, and if you have the skin on it, no worries at all. Just take your knife and run it along the edge between the skin and the flesh. Or if you don't want to do this, our Dierbergs fishmonger can take care of it for you. The salmon goes into a brine, which is a mixture of coarse salt and cold water. Whisk it until the salt starts to dissolve, and then the salmon just goes right in to sit. Soaking the salmon for a few minutes, it really helps prevent the salmon from drying out when you cook it. And a tip is to make sure that your water is nice and cold, because it'll sit out on the counter for about 15 minutes or so, and you want to make sure that it stays nice and food safe. I'm going to go ahead and wash my hands. Now I'll get started on the coconut curry sauce. And this is one of my go-to recipes and one of my favorites. In fact, I usually find myself doubling it, keeping half of it in the fridge. It keeps for about a week or so. And I just toss it over chicken or fish and maybe some rice for a quick lunch when I'm in a hurry. Starts with canned coconut milk, and you can find that down in the Asian aisle at Dierbergs, along with a mixture of soy sauce, brown sugar, rice wine vinegar, or white wine vinegar. That's up to you. Add that in, and a little bit of curry powder. Whisk that together. And then to thicken it, add a little bit of cold water to some cornstarch and mix that well. Goes right into the saucepan along with everything else. The sauce will come up to a boil, and you'll turn the heat down, and it'll thicken really nicely. I'm gonna take that down to low, and while that comes together, we're gonna talk about some noodles. Remember these? I do. I certainly made my way through the college years with these. They make a great base for this noodle bowl. You don't need the seasoning packet, so toss that aside. And then they'll need to be soft so you can saute them. So heat a pan of water to boiling, and then just put the ramens right in. Make sure to press down on them just a little bit so that that hot water goes right over the top of everything and they soften. Takes about 3 minutes or so. I'll preheat the skillet and add in some butter, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with sauteing ramen in a little bit of butter, right? As they soften, they'll start to come apart pretty easily. When the noodles are nice and soft, just drain them and add them right into the skillet. Now, they won't get really golden brown, but they will get nice and crispy, and it takes about 8 minutes or so. The noodles are nice and crispy, so I'll put them in this baking dish and hold them in a low oven until I'm ready for them. And now it's back to the salmon. It's been sitting in the brine, it's ready to go, so just take it out and make sure to dry it really well on some paper towels. Season it with a little bit of salt and pepper. Great thing about this recipe is you can actually use the same skillet to saute both the salmon and the vegetables. I'm just gonna give it a quick wipe and we'll be ready to go. Add in a little bit of olive oil. And then the salmon goes right into the pan. Now Now the key to getting a good brown crust on the salmon is just to leave it alone for a little bit. Don't move it around, don't push it around, just let it sit. Takes about 4 minutes or so. Look at that beautiful brown crust. Now these will cook for about another 4 minutes or so. What's the best way to tell they're done? My favorite gadget is an instant read thermometer. I think that that's really the most foolproof way to know that your food is cooked to the proper temperature. In this case, the salmon needs to be cooked to 145 degrees. Goes right in the thickest part of the fish. And we're almost there. I'm gonna give the sauce a stir. All right, one more temperature check of the salmon, and we're ready to go. Goes right into a baking dish. Where it can go hang out with the noodles until I'm ready to use it. I'm gonna give my skillet a quick wipe here. Now it's time to finish with the vegetables. A bit of olive oil in there. I'm using a combination of red peppers, snow peas, bok choy, and Napa cabbage. I'll start with the snow peas and the red peppers first because they take a little bit longer to cook than the bok choy and the cabbage do. Now add in the bok choy and the Napa cabbage. Doesn't take long to cook it all. Stir it till the cabbage just starts to wilt a little bit. And while the veggies finish, I'm gonna grab the salmon and the noodles and we're gonna put this bowl together. It's pretty easy, actually. Grab a bowl and start with the noodles. They go right at the bottom of the plate. Move right over to the veggies. Top, and finally a piece of that gorgeous salmon. But don't forget the coconut curry sauce. The cool thing about this bowl is that once you get the hang of it, feel free to mix and match anything you'd like. Use whatever veggies that you have in your fridge or the ones that your kids will eat. And for protein, chicken, pork, even shrimp will work. It's your dinner, it's your bowl, you got this. We're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we've got dessert, and I promise you won't be disappointed.